Hello, everybody, and thank you all for joining us here on the Victory Lap this morning. As always, I am your host, James Boss, and joined alongside me is the forever late Shane Tinney. And Shane, how are we doing on this Wednesday morning?
I'm doing great on this Wednesday morning. I hope everyone is having a good day whenever they may be watching this, or where.
Wherever or where. I mean, if they're watching it, it's on Utica TV. It's not really anywhere else to watch it.
That's true. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
We may be available on more platforms.
Potentially, hopefully, someday.
So they'll get to even see more of us.
Yeah,
How lucky they are.
I think, honestly, they're kind of unlucky at this point. Anyways, let's get into the show here. Starting off, Lamar Jackson is in a situation, to say the least. What are we kind of making of all of this?
Well, I think, so he tweeted out on Monday morning that he requested a trade on March 2nd, and the timing of it was definitely not a coincidence because he tweeted that out at, I think it was 10:48 in the morning. John Harbaugh was speaking to the media at 11. So he was almost kind of like forcing him to talk about this. And, I mean, this just feels like it's done at this point. I don't really see Lamar suiting up for the Ravens again. I think the main thing is his contract that he wants because he saw Deshaun Watson get $230 million guaranteed, and now it's like, well, I'm better than him, so I think I should get that too. And I really can't blame him for thinking that way, but it's like, if I'm a team, I don't know if I want to give out $250 million guaranteed, like, because he has missed a good few games the past few seasons. So I think that's what it is. I don't think it's about his talent. Like, we all know he can play. Like, his record is, I think he wins like 75% of his games. So I think they need to move him, but obviously that is going to be a lot easier said than done because, yeah, like I said, he's franchise tagged. So, yeah, I just feel like he's fed up at this point.
I mean, he's definitely fed up, and he obviously doesn't want to play for the Ravens. You can kind of see that both by him turning down the contract that they offered him and then also demanding a trade. So I think it's pretty safe to say he's not going to play there again. But it's a situation like this. It's really weird because you see this with like running backs sometimes, but you never really see it with a quarterback, especially not one as good as Lamar. And it's something where it's like kind of think it's a mixture of both. Like you're the reason why he's not on a team at this point, or I guess technically he's a Raven, but the reason he's still in this sort of state of limbo is because it's the mixture of the fact that he's going to get paid north of $40 million a year. On top of, you're also, if you want to trade for him, you're going to have to give up probably 2 first-round picks. And so the price tag on his head is really high. And that's with the fact that he is, like you said, kind of injury-prone at this point. The first couple of years of his career, the worry was always like, we know how talented of a runner he is, but they didn't know if he was going to be able to stay healthy considering how many hits he was taking. While he was able to do it for the first few years, he hasn't shown that he can anymore. And last year was the worst, where he missed the playoffs with a knee injury. So it's not really that surprising, I guess, that he's not there, that he's still going through this whole kind of situation. Because especially once you also factor in that he doesn't even have an agent. He is his own agent right now. So, like,
I think it's actually someone in his family.
Is it someone in his family? Which honestly might be even worse.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not exactly getting the best representation he could really get here. And I think that's probably playing a pretty big factor into why it's getting held up so bad right now. But I don't know. It's weird. I hope that he can sign somewhere. He's really fun to watch play football. When he's on the field and healthy, he's a top 5 quarterback in the league. And, I mean, frankly, I like watching a top 5 quarterback in the league play football. I would hope he doesn't go to Detroit, but I just want to see him play again.
Yeah, and I'm just sort of waiting for, like, some other team has to jump in here.
Someone.
Because you can't tell me there's not other teams seeing this happen around the league and it's like, and not thinking about, like, making a run at it. And I just jotted down a couple teams that I think he would go fit best with, and I got the Jets and the Dolphins. I think if they can get Lamar Jackson over Aaron Rodgers, you do that 7 days of the week. Like, and Lamar is only 26. You'll have him for so much longer, and it's like at this point of both of their careers, who wouldn't rather have Lamar Jackson than Aaron Rodgers for what, a year, maybe 2 years at most? And then if you think about the Dolphins, that roster, it would be like a track meet. All of them are so fast. Like that would be fun to watch. And Tua is good when he plays, but I think everyone who watches the sport can acknowledge if you can swap Tua for Lamar Jackson, you're just doing that.
Yeah. And I think on top of Tua, I mean, I think there might be a little bit of a worry, at least on the Dolphin end, that you're going from one injury-prone quarterback to another. But I'd say Lamar is less of a serious. I mean, obviously knee injuries are serious, but Tua's getting concussed every time he hits the ground right now. And Lamar at least can probably take a few hits, play a few games before he ends up having some sort of knee swelling. But I think that's kind of a trade you're willing to take. At least I'd hope it is if you're the Dolphins. I mean, if you can take a shot on a guy as good as Lamar, you take a shot on a guy as good as Lamar.
Yep.
There's not a whole lot of quarterbacks in the league that are better than him. And you kind of, I would say, have to take a gamble. I think another team that I had is an interesting spot for Lamar. It was one that Trey brought up, being the Patriots. I'm not necessarily sure it would ever actually happen because I think the Pats like Mac Jones. But could you imagine just the diabolical things Bill Belichick would do with Lamar Jackson?
Well, did you see what Meek Mill said?
I mean, he said that he was talking to Bobby Kraft.
And he said that Lamar wants to play for the Patriots.
Which, I mean, who doesn't really?
Yeah.
I would want to play for Bill. Bill would be I'm not sure Bill would be a fun coach to play for, but he'd get a lot out of you.
He'll win you games.
He certainly will. Okay, so that would be a good one. That would be a really good move for him. I think that, like, the one other team I think that stands out, at least to me, is a spot for him, is the Tennessee Titans. They're a team who has had pretty mediocre quarterback play for a very long time, and this would let them stay competitive in that division with the Jags looking like they're getting ready to run it for a long time. So if the Titans want to keep themselves in it, you go for Lamar, you move off of Malik Willis, who's the opposite of competitive, and I think that would be very good for the Tennessee Titans. I'm not necessarily sure they'll do it, but they should.
I think
they don't even have a great pick that they'd have. I mean, obviously, not having a great pick would mean that the first rounder is a little less valuable. But like, they're not gonna have to give up a top 10 pick in the draft to get him, and I think that's a big bonus if you're the Titans.
Yeah, I think there's so many teams that should be at least calling the Ravens right now.
Yeah.
And being like, okay, what do we have to do? What's your asking price? And like one thing we kind of both brought up, he's been injury prone, but like it could also be that if you remember last year, he sat out the last, I think, 6 games. Could he have maybe played in those games, or was he kind of just protecting himself for the future? I'm not saying he wasn't injured, but like I think maybe the amount of games he's missed might represent it a little bit, just because like he was due for contract soon, and he might have been just sort of preserving himself.
But if you want to look at it like that, if you're a team, do you want a guy who's going to prioritize himself over the rest of the team?
That's fair. Or I mean, but it's not like maybe the injuries weren't the biggest of deals, I guess. And it from what he said, once he gets his contract, I don't really see him doing that anymore.
I'd hope. I'm not 100% sure that it's like that and that he was sitting out because he wanted to protect himself. I think he probably had a little bit of that and he probably could have pushed it out a little bit. But, I mean, I think if you're a football organization and you're trying to offer big money to someone, you don't want to offer big money to the person who is willing to sit out the most important games of the season for his own benefit. And while obviously I think Lamar probably made a smart play, because even if he's not 100%, we've seen what happens when a guy goes out with a not perfect knee and plays in a big game. We saw it with RG3. He did that and then tore his ACL and was never the same afterwards. Lamar was trying to protect himself from that. So I'm not really necessarily going to blame Lamar, but at the same time, I'm not just going to write off all the organizations and their mindsets because, frankly, it's fair that they would be a little hesitant to take a shot on a guy like that.
Yeah, I think really, at the end of the day, this Deshaun Watson deal ruined the league.
Oh, it did. It 100% did. In more ways than just the money aspect.
Yeah, but who's giving out $230 million guaranteed, except the Browns?
I don't think
Because
much of anyone.
I think that's what's driving this whole thing.
It is.
He's like, yeah, I saw Deshaun Watson get this, so I'm better than him, which he is. So I should get that. And
Yeah.
the Ravens are like, no, we're not. Like, we'll give you, because I forget what it was they offered him, but it was up there.
I think it was like 3 for 130,
Yeah.
which is like 42 and a half a year, I think.
Yeah, it was actually reportedly comparable to Russell Wilson's deal,
Okay.
which he got $49 million a year. For 7 seasons. It was probably shorter than that, but
Probably.
it was in that like ballpark. But
Okay.
with his contract, I think he only got like $160 million of it guaranteed. Which
Which, I mean, obviously isn't what you want, but it's still a lot of money.
you'll take that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. This just feels like that relationship is fractured.
Oh, I don't think it's ever getting fixed. I think, honestly, the only thing holding back a trade from being done, I think, is a lot of the teams that are interested might want to wait for the draft to happen already. And
True.
So they might just be waiting to see if they can get their future franchise guy in the draft as opposed to trading for a very expensive quarterback that in their eyes is injury prone and me first. It might be something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but if I had to take a guess, I'd think the draft is what's holding everything up.
That would make the most sense. Who knows? Maybe we'll see a big trade like during the draft.
We could.
Like
I
we've
know
seen
that.
before.
I know that there's some like rumors that the Rodgers move is also they're also waiting until the draft for that one. But I think that's the only other real move that stands out as one that could be a very big move that'll come up near the end of April during that fun time of the year.
It's going to be great.
Should be, hopefully. Can't wait to get that man out of Green Bay. Anyways, let's stop talking about football. Let's move on to the NBA. There's a whole MVP race going on right now. I don't know if you're aware of this. It's mainly between Embiid and Jokic. But other than them, who would you choose for your MVP?
Well, I mean, let me be clear. Joel Embiid's probably going to win this award because they don't really give out MVPs 3 years in a row to the same person.
It's happened, I think, 3 times in the history of the sport.
So, yeah. So I just don't see Jokic winning that award 3 consecutive years. So I think it'll be Embiid. But if it was anyone other than them, this one, you're going to be surprised about this one. I got Sabonis
Really?
for the Kings.
Interesting.
I mean, his play,
It's been very good.
it's like he was an all-star this year, and this really just seemed like his leap year. He finally made that leap. I mean, I think he was an all-star last year too, but I don't know, watching some of their games, you just see how good this guy is. And the Kings are in 3rd. When have they ever been above 10, it seems like, in the past,
Well, this is their first time winning 40 games in, I think, 20 years.
Yeah. So, yeah, they're 3rd in the West. With how soft the Western Conference is, you look at that team and you're like, if this team can click on all cylinders, could they make a run at going to the finals?
Yes, I think they can.
And I think, obviously, you have Darren Fox, too, but Sabonis is right there, too. They're 1A, 1B on that team. So, I don't know if he should at least be in MVP talks, I think. So, that's my pick.
I like that. I like that a lot. I actually had De'Aaron as just a shout out. I don't think he deserves it, but I think he deserves more respect. And I love me some De'Aaron Fox. He's been my guy ever since he came into the league. I loved watching him at Kentucky. And he's having a great year. Finally made an all-star team, even if it was as a replacement. But he's also one of the clutchest dudes in the league, so gotta love him there. Mm-hmm. He doesn't deserve MVP. Still a dog. obvious number 3, I will have to say it is Giannis. He is, frankly, I think he might even deserve it over Embiid and Jokic. He's been that good. He's averaging 31, 11, and 5 on the best team in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
His second scoring option is Drew Holiday, who, well, is solid. Not exactly a scorer.
More of a defensive guy.
Yeah. So and on top of that, he's also arguably the best defender in all of the league. You put all that together, it makes for an MVP. And while I don't think they're going to give it to him, I think the voters do want to give it to Embiid because this is the first time he's really been healthy and able to play the whole year. Giannis has to get his flowers. Like this guy is the best player in the NBA. He is on pace to be a top 10 player of all time, maybe even top 5. And I think that he should win MVP this year. I don't really care about any of the narratives for the other guys. Giannis has been the best player in the league on the best team in the league. And I think that should get you the MVP.
I think with Giannis now, we're sort of starting to see that like LeBron effect when he was in Miami. Like voters fatigue is kicking in because I think LeBron won MVP 4 out of 5 seasons. Mm-hmm. That one year when Derrick Rose won, it was the only year when he didn't. So I think that's what we're starting to see with Giannis, but which, quite honestly, like I don't agree with. Like, if you're the best player 5 years in a row,
you should win the MVP 5 years in a row.
Exactly. Like, I get it. It's kind of boring. Like, they want to give it to more people and sort of, not keep it stale. But the best player in the league should win the award. It doesn't matter who years prior or whatever. And that's kind of how I feel with Jokic. Although, like, I'm still taking Embiid, but I don't like. A few days ago, Embiid sat out against the Nuggets. That's like. We're all just waiting for that matchup, and then you don't play.
Yeah, that's kind of soft.
So come on, Embiid.
Yeah. Give the people what they want. Troel Embiid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think Embiid probably will win it this year.
I think he is the leading vote getter, I'd have to imagine. And I mean, it's fair. I can't really argue it. This is the one of those years where there's 3 people who deserve an MVP. And, I mean, I'm sure you maybe want one person to get it over the other, but at the end of the day, you can't really be that upset. All 3 of them could win it. And all 3 of them kind of deserve it. So you kind of have to just be happy with whatever happens.
You know who should have been up there?
Who?
If he liked to play basketball? AD. Especially with the West this year, if he played more games and had the Lakers, and we're going to talk about them next, actually.
We are.
If he had them, in the top 5, he'd be up there, too. Without question. Especially with LeBron missing games. I think AD would definitely get some consideration there. Because he's got the talent for it. We talk about him all the time.
We do.
If he just stayed on the court and is his dominant bubble AD self, and Pelicans AD, he'd be up there. But just can't stay healthy.
He can't. I think someone else who deserves to be I'm not necessarily sure in the conversation is the right way to put it, but someone who deserves to be talked about more is one of the best players in the league is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He has exploded this year, and while the Thunder are mediocre, he is the thing stopping them from being a dumpster fire. And, I mean, he's basically single-handedly carrying that team. I know Josh Giddey's solid, but
he is.
Shai is averaging 31, 5, and 5.
Yeah.
That's absurd. Mm-hmm. So I think that you kind of have to have him. Maybe he shouldn't win it, but I honestly kind of think he deserves to be top 5. And I'm not sure he's going to be because of just how mediocre his team is.
That's just it, I think. I think maybe next year we'll have a different conversation about the Thunder because they'll have Chet back.
I hate Chet. I don't like
Number
Chet.
2 overall pick.
Yeah, I don't like him.
So you'll have him and Shai and they're all going to be another year of experience. And I think the Thunder won't be as bad. But I can see him being like a 6th through 8th seed next season.
I mean, they could steal the
Although
play-in.
that could happen this year.
They could still steal the play-in spot from the Lakers. They're still very much in that race. You want to just talk about the Lakers?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about them. They stink. Are they more, Shane, do you think the Lakers are more likely to miss the playoffs or win a playoff series? I feel like there's only one right answer.
I mean, I think they're more likely to miss the playoffs. Although, like, my first initial answer was, no, they can win a playoff series. But then it's like, okay, they're not beating the Grizzlies or the Nuggets.
No.
Unfortunately, they're just not. They're just not as good as those teams. And it's like, the Lakers will go on these stretches during the season where you'll watch them play and you think they might have just figured it out. You know, they'll string together a good, like, little win streak. They'll be like 7-3 in a 10-game span. But then they just lose these games. You just expect them to win. Let's look at Sunday.
Let's look at Sunday.
In LeBron's first game back, you lose to the Bulls.
The Bulls.
The Bulls, I think, are around a 500 win of 500, and the Bulls now have Pat Bev. You know he had that circled on his calendar, and as he should. Like, that's just Pat Bev. That's just his competitive nature. And you got AD only taking 8 shots in that game.
How? Make that make
While
sense.
he shot 6 for 8, you cannot be shooting 8 shots. I think we talked about it before. You'd rather have AD shoot 30 shots than 8.
Yes.
I think you'd rather see that on the stat sheet. And then last week, they lose to the 18-win Rockets when AD sat out because it was a back-to-back. I know they're trying to preserve AD and be careful with him, and they were saying they're going to give him back-to-backs off. You can't anymore.
No.
With the state of this team and the playoff race, you just can't do it.
No, we're past that point.
So, and you know, they're in ninth, and for those reasons, like ever since All-Star break, like I said, it looks like they've figured it out, but then they'll just lose these games. Just like, no, you got to have them.
It's infuriating, frankly. It drives me insane. I can't stand following this team because they're so annoying. I mean, I don't know if they're gonna miss the playoffs, but they're not gonna make it through the play-in even if they do make it. And they're guaranteed to be in the play-in. There's no way that they're gonna be good enough to close out the year to avoid it. And I mean, I don't think they do anything once they get there. They're not that good. They should be. You have LeBron, Anthony Davis, and a banged up D'Angelo Russell. I don't even know if he's playing right now. I don't think he is. And I don't know if
Reeves.
They do have Austin Reeves, but I don't know if D'Angelo's going to be healthy for the playoffs. I sure hope he would be, but
You'd hope so.
at this point, the organization sure isn't going to rush him back because they haven't been rushing anybody back because they'd rather keep people healthy than win games and even make the playoffs. It's like, I understand it. And I know that we were talking about it with Lamar, where it's like commendable, and it's like I respect the player for doing that. But when it's the team that I like, I don't want you to do that. That drives me insane. I want you to make the playoffs, and right now they're not playing like they want to.
Yeah, well, and it's also like this has been happening AD's whole career.
It has.
Yeah, so I don't think it's kind of like Lamar because you just kind of watch AD play sometimes. You just question his motor and his drive.
Yeah.
Which I hate because it's like I think LeBron said it himself a couple of years ago, like we were handing the keys to AD. Like this is sort of his franchise now. And that's what should have happened. He's more in his prime than LeBron is. And
I'd hope.
sometimes it's hard to tell, but like that's, you know, I don't think he's 30 yet.
And AD, I don't think he is. He's close, but I don't think he's there.
Like there's just no reason a 38-year-old LeBron should be playing more minutes, more games, and shooting more shots than Anthony Davis. I mean, that just can't happen.
It shouldn't happen, especially considering, LeBron is a generational passer of the basketball. I would think that he'd be focusing more on facilitating than scoring, but that's not the case. And, it's so annoying. Because how do you lose Sunday? How do you lose on Sunday? You have LeBron Davis coming back, or LeBron Davis.
Who's that?
Man, that's who it feels like right now, honestly.
New guy.
Yeah, but you have LeBron coming back from apparently a torn tendon in his foot. Just probably true. I don't think that one's a LeBron injury where he just made it up to make people feel bad about him.
Yeah, well, yeah. Did you see?
But he went to the LeBron James of feet.
Yeah.
So whatever that really means. He might have been better off just sitting out the back end of the season and just not playing this year. Honestly, I don't think, for whatever reason, I don't know how it makes sense. The Lakers are worse when LeBron plays basketball. I don't get it. They shouldn't be, because he's one of the greatest players, arguably the greatest player to ever play the sport. I would think that would make your team better, but it hasn't. They haven't hit 500. They didn't hit 500 all year until LeBron got hurt. And then Austin Reeves started actually running the offense a little bit, and they started to win games. No, I'm not saying Austin Reeves is better than LeBron James, but for some reason they found a formula of winning with Austin Reeves better than they ever could with LeBron. And while it's beyond my comprehension, it's happened. And you should kind of keep riding that. And now
fit is important.
It is. And now LeBron's back, and they're losing again to teams that they shouldn't lose to. And it's infuriating, and it drives me insane. And it's like, what was the point of the D'Angelo Russell trade if they're still this bad? Obviously, he's been hurt for most of it, so it's been a bit unfortunate there. But LeBron's hurt. AD's been actually kind of healthy this year, which is weird, other than the first half of the season. D'Lo is hurt. Austin Reeves is their best scorer right now. This team is still in the exact same place it was 3 months ago, and they're still not going to do anything. It's maddening.
Yeah, because all it would take is for them to just go on a little bit of a run, and then they could honestly elevate as high as sixth.
They could,
but they just can't. And also, if they slip up for a few more games in a row, they're just not going to make it, because the Mavericks are in 11th right now, and they're 37 and 39. That's one game behind the Lakers. So if they win a few and the Lakers start to lose, they're just not going to make it at all. Mm-hmm. The Jazz and the Trailblazers seem like they've completely fallen out of it.
And I don't know if it's official, but I know that there's been a lot of talks about Dame getting shut down for the rest of the year. I don't know if they've officially done it yet.
I believe they have.
I think I saw something, but I was going to say I thought I saw something saying they did. So if he's not playing, you can kind of write off the Trailblazers.
Yeah. And I feel like I don't know what's going on with the Mavericks, really.
Dude, no one does.
When they added Kyrie, I remember I was saying on our show, I was like, they got probably the best duo in the league. They don't have a reason to not be up there in the Western Conference, and they're in 11th.
Yep.
So, real quick subtopic off of that.
All right.
Who you got winning the Western Conference?
Oh, you were talking about them earlier. I got the Kings.
Kings?
I love the Kings. I'm a big De'Aaron guy. Always have been. I like Sabonis.
That's a good pick. I think I don't know what coach said this quote or whatever, but I think it's, what do you say? The best team wins, not the best roster.
Yeah.
And that's a good example right here, because you look at some star power on other teams and it just can't make it work. Mm-hmm. Team chemistry is more important, but
the beam has been lit. That's all that matters.
The beam has been lit. I would still probably go with the Suns. We can't forget they were in the finals just 2 years ago.
We can't. It's just a matter of health at this point. Because
KD's back.
Yeah, but is he going to sprain his ankle in warm-ups again? Because, it could happen. The guy is basically, it feels like he's made out of glass at this point right now. He's going down left and right for, granted, this is as fluky of an injury as it gets, but it still happened to him. And so, I don't
and
know.
I still can't, you can't count out the Warriors ever.
No, you can't. You really never can. Although they can't win on the road this year for some reason.
Yeah, they're 9-29 on the road.
Yeah. Worse than the Pistons on the
road. And they're 31-8 at home. I don't know.
This is the most.
I don't get it.
That is the most baffling team in the league.
Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that as far as team chemistry.
It really doesn't.
And Steph Curry actually also doesn't get talked about enough as far as father time, because he's 35.
Really?
He's only 3 years younger than LeBron. He just celebrated his 35th birthday. So
35?
Yeah. I know you can't exactly. You can't tell, By the way, he still runs around in circles on the court until he's open for a three.
Honestly.
So, I think in 3 years when he's LeBron's, he'll still be playing. If he's still playing at this rate and moving like the way he does, he will have a long career.
I still don't believe he's 35. That doesn't feel real.
I know.
He might be the greatest 35-year-old to ever exist.
He really might be. He really just might be. I don't know if LeBron was just good at 35. He was probably hurt.
Well, actually, I think when LeBron was 35, he won the bubble.
I don't know if it was that season or the year after, because I think he was like 34, 35 when he went to the Lakers.
I think he was 35 when he won the bubble, because that was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
He might have like just turned 36 or something.
Yeah.
But
either way, Steph is also kind of beating Father Time.
he is. Shout out to Steph. We love that guy.
Shout out.
All right, Shane. We want to get into some baseball to close this one out?
Yeah, so obviously we got the MLB season starting off tomorrow. I know we've all been waiting on this one
I know I have.
ever since your Dodgers lost in the
Oh,
playoffs.
yeah.
We've been looking forward to this day. So
And your Yankees, you're not getting out too clean.
sure we are. Stay tuned. So Vegas released their odds for the over-under of each team. So we're going to just go through all the teams and see what our friend James is going to take, the over or the under. So we'll start with the AL East. Starting off with my boys, the Yankees. 95.5. What do you got?
Well, you know I'm a purebred hater,
Yes.
so I'm taking the under. I honestly think they might miss the playoffs outright.
Oh,
I like the Yankees as a team. Well, I don't like the Yankees. We know that. But I think their team is good. However, I'm very worried with their injuries. They've already lost two of their top four starting pitchers, and the season hasn't even started. Severino is going to be out for a couple months, and Carlos Rodon, their big free agent acquisition, has forearm tightness, which, if anybody knows anything about baseball, is a precursor for Tommy John. While he's not there yet, this is one of the worst injuries a pitcher can have. So I think that's a very big worry for this team. And then you tack on the fact that last year, their offense was entirely carried by Aaron Judge going absolutely ballistic. He's not going to be able to do that again. As much as you would love for him to hit another 62 homers, he won't. I think he'll be lucky to hit 50. And I think he'll still be safe in the 40 home run range, which is still incredibly good. I don't want to make that sound like it's not. He is still a freak, and he is still one of the best hitters in baseball, if not the best. Unfortunately, I think that's going to have a bit of a side effect on the offense, and it's going to make it fall off a little bit. And while they did call up Anthony Volpe as their top prospect to start the season, I don't think he's going to be able to make up that gap. So while I think this is a solid team, I think the division is too stacked, and I don't think they hit the over, and I think they miss the playoffs.
It's a bold take. While I can't acknowledge this is a very good division, we're going to go right down the list to the Blue Jays, 92.5.
Now, this is a team that I love. I have been very high on the Blue Jays for the last 3-ish years. I like the over on this one. I think that this is going to be one of the best teams in the American League this year. I think this is going to be one of the best teams in baseball this year. Haven't ever really hit the level that I've expected out of them, but Bo Bichette and Vladdy had weird down years last season, and I think that's not going to happen because, frankly, it shouldn't happen to two guys that talented. So I think they finally hit their stride and reached that mark that they've been projected to hit, and I think they're close to 100 games. I think they win close to 100 games this year.
It's a lot of wins.
It is a lot of wins, and it'll be tough with how good this division is, but I think this team's good enough to do it.
Yeah, a lot of divisional games that will be tough for them. Tampa Bay, 88.5.
I'll keep this one short. I think they're way under this. I hate the Rays. Pay the players. You guys are losers. Moving on.
To the Orioles, who had a better year last season.
They did.
A lot better than a lot of previous years. They got them at 76.5.
I really like the Orioles this year. They're one of my sleeper teams this season, and
That's a good over-under.
it is a good over-under. I think they're over, and I think they're a good amount over. I think they might push 90 wins this year because they may have had a pretty quiet offseason, but it's because they didn't need to have a busy one because they have so much young talent that's coming up and ready. They have a full season of Adley, a full season of Gunnar Henderson. They're going to get Grayson Rodriguez, the top pitching prospect in baseball, up at the start of the season. I really like where this team's headed. I think that I might be jumping the gun on them a little bit. I might be a year or two early, but I think this is going to be one of the best teams in baseball for the future of in the near future of this league, and I think they might start to make that jump this year.
It's a bold take.
It is, and I mean, I think they're kind of like my Lions this year, where I think this is their year where they start to make the turn. I might be a year early on the playoffs because I think they make the playoffs this year. I might be a year early on that, but I think they're getting very close.
It will be close. And wrapping up the AL East, the worst team in the league, the Boston Red Sox, 77.5.
They may not be the worst team in the league, but they're not hitting 77.5. I think 77 is about right for a mark for them, but I think they're going to be the worst team in the division. And if you're the worst team in the division, I mean, you can't have 78 wins, so I'm going to take the under because I feel like I just kind of have to.
Yeah, that feels about right. Like that mid to high 70 range.
Yeah.
For them. Yeah.
They're not a terrible team, but they're also not a great one either, and I think it's just kind of middles out at just a little less than average.
And the divisional games aren't going to help their cause either.
No, it will not.
So, okay, we're going to take it to the AL Central. We'll start off with the Twins, 82.5.
This division is the definition of mediocrity. There's a whole bunch of teams that are just decent to not good. I think the Twins are the most average out of all of them. I think I'll take the over on them. I think 82.5 is a little low, but honestly, I don't see them winning a whole lot more than 85. I think that they're on the upper spectrum of pretty good teams in this division, in what is basically a wild, wild west of decent. So I think they're over 82, but I don't think they hit 90.
Yeah, 82.5. That feels about right.
It does. It's like there's some decent. Vegas knows what they're doing sometimes.
They do. We got the White Sox next, 84.5.
I would say the over. I really like the White Sox. They disappoint me every year, but finally Tony La Russa is gone, and I think that's going to be a much bigger impact on this team than people might think. Now, I don't necessarily think they're going to blow the world, like the baseball world, in two, but I think they win closer to 90 games than any other team in this division. But also, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they win 80 and then disappoint for like the 17th year in a row, because this team is just, it doesn't make sense. For how much talent they have, they should be one of the best teams in baseball, and they never are.
Yeah, it seems like they always kind of just sort of hang in there.
Yeah.
Don't really do anything too spectacular. But another team that might, the Guardians.
Dude, they're way under this.
87.5? They're way under, really.
So generous. 87.5. I get it, they won the division last year, but their offense sucks. And their pitching has already lost their number 2 pitcher for the next 2 months. That's a really bad loss to a team that doesn't have the pitching depth it had in the last decade or so. I think they're under. I think they're well under. I don't even think they go 500 this year.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not very high on this team. And I really like the Guardians. It's a team. It's a wonderful stadium. I think Cleveland as a city is very underrated. But I think their baseball team kind of stinks right now.
We'll have to see on that one. The Tigers, 69.5.
I think they're over. I think they're decent this year. I don't think they're going over 500, but I think they're like a firm 70-win team. They were supposed to make the leap last year. They didn't. I think this year is the year they do.
So Vegas got it about right on that one.
They got it about right. I could see them top out at like 75 wins.
Last but not least, in the AL Central, well, actually might be the least, the Royals, 68.5.
This one's tough because this feels about right. I don't think the Royals are like that terrible team that every division seems to have, but they're also not a whole lot better than 68 wins. I think they're under, but I wouldn't be shocked if they go within 2 games of 68 on either side.
Taking it now to the AL West. Started off with the Houston Astros, 96.5.
This is the easiest over out of all of them. This team, I mean, I think they've won 100 games for like the last 7 years. I hate them. You hate them.
I do hate them.
They're going to win 100 games again unless their plane crashes. They're they are probably the best team in all of baseball. They have arguably the best rotation in baseball, arguably the best lineup in baseball, some of the best defense in baseball. There's no shot this team wins under 97 games. None.
It's a lot of wins, though, to be up there like that.
Yeah, but this team has been winning more than that every year.
They have.
If it's a full season, they win 100 games. It's just death, taxes, and the Astros being really good. It's just how it goes.
Unfortunately. Move off of them to the Mariners. 88.5.
I think they're over.
Yeah.
They're a 90-win team. I don't really see them underperforming, even if this division is better than it has been in recent years.
Yeah, they had a good year last year.
They were really good last year. I
They
like
were.
this team. They're really fun. They're a very fun baseball team.
The Rangers, 82.5 wins.
The Rangers are my hot take team this year. I think the Rangers are really good. Really good. I think they're way over this. I think that they might even make it to the World Series this year. I am that high
Really?
on them. They got Bruce Bochy, who is one of the best coaches, or one of the best managers in, I think, MLB history. And you go out and you get Jacob deGrom, who obviously has a whole lot of injury risk. I have to be an idiot to not acknowledge that. But when he's on the mound, he's the best pitcher in baseball. And you tack that on with one of the best top fives in a lineup in baseball, and with a Corey Seager who found his power stroke last season and now is going to be able to have that power stroke in addition with no shift. He is going to go back to hitting 330 like he used to for the Dodgers while also hitting 35 homers, pushing 40. He might win MVP this year. He is going to be one of the best players in baseball on what I think will be one of the best teams in baseball. I think the Rangers are way over this.
Some hot takes about that team there.
Oh, I know. I'm aware because their bullpen stinks and the back half of their rotation stinks and the back half of their lineup kind of stinks. But I don't think it matters. I think they're really good. I like this team a lot.
The Angels, 80.5.
This one's tough because I think they're very capable of going over, but it's the Angels and they never perform, so I have to take the under. I think the only thing that can really push them over is if Rendon has a big year, and granted, he's looked healthy. By all accounts, he is healthy, so it's possible. But I don't think it happened. I don't think they do it. They're the Angels. They stink every season, even though they're not supposed to. Mm-hmm. Every year, people go into look at the Angels as like, oh, this team is finally going to move forward and be that really good team that they should be when you have the two best players in the history of baseball on it. Like, they should be better than an 80-win team, but I don't think they will be.
Yeah. Yeah, 80 feels about right. And last but not least, the Athletics, 59.5.
This one is so hard. It's hard because, I don't know how you can be worse than 60 wins, but at the same time, I don't even know how they're going to win 40 games. This team is that bad. I think it has to be the under purely off of this is arguably the worst team in all of baseball. You don't know baseball. I know baseball, and I'm still struggling to name 5 players on this team. They're so terrible. They have to. There's no way they can win 60 games. There's no way. They're gonna lose 110 games this year, and it wouldn't even shock me.
Yeah, if 60, that would have put them at 110 losses. Yeah.
Yeah.
Off of the AL West, we're gonna take it to the NL East now. It's a pretty stacked division also here.
This might be the best division in
It
baseball.
probably is. We'll start it off with the other team in New York, the Mets, 95.5.
I think I take the under here. It's just something about the Mets. I think they go back to being disappointing. I don't think they make I think they make the playoffs, but I think they're not. I don't think they're getting that 100-win mark that they did last year, and I think that is worrying for a team like them to be relying on 2 geriatric pitchers to front the rotation in Verlander and Scherzer. So I don't really trust that. Also, you lose Edwin Diaz for the year. You lose Nimmo already to start the season. I think April is going to be very tough on this team while they still try and figure everything out. I think they're good, but I don't see them winning 95. I don't see them hitting the 96-win mark like they'd have to if they want to hit the over. So I just kind of have to take the under on this
I think
one.
they'll be the low 90s.
I think so.
Yeah. Which is still very good.
It's still, don't get me wrong, this is still a very good team, but I think they're not the elite of the elite like they were last year.
Yeah. Their rival last season going down the stretch there, it seemed like the Braves, 95.5. Same mark.
It's a high mark, but I think they hit the over. I am very high. I'm always very high on the Braves because I think for the last 5 or so years, they've been the best, or they've at least had arguably the best roster in baseball. And I don't think it's really any different this year. Top to bottom, their lineup is loaded. And you look at their pitching staff, and it's arguably even better. They have, in my mind, Spencer Strider, who is going to be the unanimous best pitcher in baseball within the next 3 years. He is that talented. The kid had 200 strikeouts in 130 innings last year. That's insane. Like, that's unreal. He was completely unhittable. Plus, it looks like they're getting Mike Soroka back within this first month or month and a half of the season. And if he can go back to where he was a few years ago before he had all of his big injuries, he was a really good pitcher for them. And if he's their number 5, that's the best number 5 in all of baseball. So I would have to take the over for this Braves team. I think they might go back and try and win that World Series. I would not be shocked if they come out of the NL.
So we're saying the Braves will they're going to represent the NL?
I think they will.
That's the early pick?
I think they will.
We got the Phillies at 88.5.
This is way too low of a line. They're over. They're got to be over. Their pitching still has Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler, who is arguably the best 1-2 in all of baseball. They just added Trey Turner this offseason. Obviously, Harper's going to be out for at least the first month and a half, but they have enough firepower on offense to make up for it without him. I don't see this team winning any less than 90 games. I would be shocked if they win less than 90 games. I kind of see them hovering around the 95 mark. They are just unbelievably good. And 88.5 is disrespectful, honestly.
We'll go to someone who probably won't touch 90 wins. The Marlins, 74.5.
I think this is the best line yet. I think the Marlins are literally at the 75 win mark. I don't know if they go on which side they lean, but I think I take the over. I'm guessing they win 75, 76 games. Their pitching is really good. Their hitting is mediocre. And, I mean, I like taking overs for teams that I don't know anything about. Well, I mean, I know a lot about the Marlins, but for the teams that I am very torn on, I like leaning the over. Just let's keep it a little positive here. Let's hope that they're better than they are worse.
Go 75 wins for them? 75, 76?
I think that's about right.
And least, I was going to say last but not least, but this is probably this is the least.
This is one of the worst teams in the sport.
The Washington Nationals, 60.5.
This one's hard. The Nats are really bad. I don't know if they're necessarily this bad, but I think they're a little. No, on my notes I have them as a little less bad than 60.5. But honestly, I think they might win 58 games. I'm taking the under. It's tough, but this team is awful.
All right, we'll take it to the NL Central now with leading off the Cardinals, 89.5.
I hate looking at this division. I hate looking at any of these teams. This division is so mid. The Cardinals are good, but this division almost feels like it never produces a 90-game winner. And even though the Cardinals hit it last year, I don't think they do it again. I think Goldie steps back. I think Arenado steps back. I don't love their rotation. I think this team wins 85 games and wins the division, but I don't see them winning 90.
The Milwaukee Brewers, they got at 85.5.
Under. This division is mid. The Brewers are mid. They can't hit, at all. Their hitting is terrible. Plus, they just traded Hunter Renfroe, who is their only real power guy. I mean, other than Willie Adames, but Willie Adames is a shortstop. He's hit 30 homers one time in his career. Granted, it was last year, but I don't think he's going to do it again. Their pitching is incredible. Corbin Burns is a dog. Brandon Woodruff is a dog. If Freddie Peralta is healthy, he's a dog. But my God, this division is so mediocre, and I think the Brewers are the definition of average. I think they win 80 games. They won't be anywhere better than a little over 500 at best. They should trade Corbin Burns, those freaking cowards.
Moving down the list to the Cubs, 77.5 wins.
Under. Somehow this team wins 70 games every year, despite being terrible every year. Granted, I mean, sure, they weren't terrible that one World Series run, and they weren't exactly terrible for the longest time. But right now, it feels like this team should be horrible, and for some reason, they're just bad. So I think this is another year where they're just bad. I don't think they're not hitting 78 wins. But I don't think they go below 70. They're like a 72-win team for some reason. They stink. They shouldn't be that good, but I think they will be just about decent enough.
The Pittsburgh Pirates, 65.5 wins.
Under. They're so bad. This division is horrible. Trade Brian Reynolds. They're so bad. They have nothing. They have Roansy Contreras is up, and O'Neal Cruz is up for a whole year. But like Brian Reynolds, their best player that they've had in a very long time. I think their best player since Andrew McCutchen doesn't even want to play there. Like this team sucks. How does this division have so much mid? It's upsetting.
The NL mid.
The
Central?
NL mid. Yeah.
Mid Central.
The mid Central.
That's what we'll go with.
It's mid on the AL side too.
And the last one, another probably mid team we're going to go with here, the Reds, 64.5.
Yeah, this is even more mid. I think I take the over on this one. I think they're slightly less mid than the Pirates, but they still stink.
Yeah, I mean, they got them and the Pirates basically identical here.
Yeah, and I think the Pirates are a little worse, but they're both so bad.
And our last division we're going to cover, the NL West, your favorite. And we're started off with the Dodgers. 96.5 wins. I think that's the highest one they got.
There's absolutely no shot in all of the world that the Dodgers win 97 games.
Them and Astros have the highest over-under.
Yeah, that's foolish. The pitching is suspect. The bullpen is suspect. The hitting is suspect. They'll still pull 92 wins out of a hat, but there's no shot they come close to 97.
Really?
None.
That's your team.
I know it's my team, and I know when I see it that this team isn't anywhere near as good as it has been in the last, 5 years. They are just okay. They're a good team, but they're not doing anything. They're not winning the division.
The Padres, 93.5.
Now this might be the most disrespectful over-under. 93.5, obviously you can't really go a whole lot higher than it to open a season, but they might be over this by 15 games. That's how good this team is.
Really?
Dude, this Padres team is so stacked. I think they might be the best team in all of baseball this season. They have Manny Machado playing like an MVP. Tatis is only going to be gone until mid-May, and when he's on the field, he's arguably the best player in baseball. Then you have Juan Soto, who is still Juan Soto. They are so good at this sport. Their pitching is still very good. It's not as loaded as it has been, but it's still elite. I think they might be the best team in baseball this year.
The San Francisco Giants, 80.5 wins.
They're under. I don't like them. They're average. I don't like them any year. Obviously, this year is not any different. They're under. Boo.
Boo. The Diamondbacks, 75.5.
Now, this is a good sleeper team. I like the over on these guys. I think that they're a year off from being a playoff team, but I think they get very close this year. NL West, or the NL is kind of stacked with talent. The teams that are good are really good. The teams that are bad are very bad. And I think the Diamondbacks are going to be able to eat up on those not good teams. They'll struggle against the good teams, but I think they'll give them a better fight than they have in recent years. I like this team. They're good.
We'll see. And our last one, the Colorado Rockies, they got a 67.5.
It's the under. This might be the worst team in baseball. They are so bad. Shane, I will give you a case of due if you can name me 2 Rockies. 2. Yeah, exactly.
You'd win that bet.
I would, because they're terrible. There's nothing going for this team in a good way. They're horrible. The 67.5 is by far the most generous line we have seen all day. Just get out of here with the nonsense that they'll be lucky to win more than 55. No shot.
And that wraps it up.
That does wrap it up. Thank you all for listening and joining us on the Victory Lap here today. I've, as always, been James Boss. As always, he is, still is, forever will be, Shane Tanney, still very late too. Thank you all for watching us
I don't know
here
what he's talking about.
on Utica TV. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll be back next week.